Welcome to the New Wave Supercross podcast. I'm your host, Austin. Along with me, I have my co host, Jordan, and our guest of honor, Dylan. So, Supercross podcast, we're going to be talking about everything related to Supercross. We have a lot of different topics we're going to be talking about. And for starters, we're going to talk about, in the 450 class specifically, riders who have been underperforming. So, Jordan, do you have any? Who do you want to start off talking about?
Um, I guess we can start off with Zach Osborne. I mean, I guess expectations were kind of high for him coming in since he kind of dominated 250s, and yeah, there's a couple races he had decent finishes, and he's just kind of all over the place, just down low a lot, and yeah, I don't know about him.
Yeah, Zach Osborne definitely thought he was going to come in, and I mean, he won, I think, an outdoor moto or two, and I thought he was going to come in and do a lot better than what he's doing, and especially coming off a 250 championship. Like,
Yeah,
Cianciarulo hasn't, like, he never won a 250 title, and Zach Osborne won two. I feel like he had more confidence, and Cianciarulo was, like, always up there in the top five. So I think that's interesting. Another one definitely is Aaron Plessinger. Aaron Plessinger, I feel like he, like, the dude's fast.
oh yeah,
I don't know I don't know if he needs more time on the bike or if he needs to find the right settings or the right track or what. But I mean, he was dominating 250s. Definitely the man to beat, and now he's just kind of back of the pack, mid pack rider, and sucks to see
yeah,
because I like the guy. But
yeah. No, I mean, I wonder if he's one of those guys, or if he finally does get that, maybe not a moto win, maybe like a top, 3, 5 finish, maybe keep that momentum going and keep it up, or I
need
don't
some
know. Yeah,
confidence.
exactly. Need some
Yeah.
confidence. That's what I'm wondering. But
And then, so San Diego is coming up at the time of recording. It's actually later on today. Uh, who do you think is going to win the 250, and who do you think is going to win the 450 race tonight?
250. I'm gonna say Austin Faulkner because I think he needs a straight up win over Dylan Ferrandis right now. Um, and probably then Ferrandis in second and Justin Cooper in third. And for 450s, I'm gonna say probably Ken Roxon again.
Yeah,
And
never go wrong with
uh,
Kenny.
it's hard to say, man. There's definitely some good riders in the 450 class. Probably Ken. I'm gonna say Cooper Webb, and then probably just Eli Tomac in third.
Okay.
But that's my top three.
I think for the 250, not only do I hope that Austin is going to win, he has to win at this point. Like, he's 10 points
Yeah,
down in a short title hunt. Um, Ferrandis has the title right now, or has the points lead. He needs to get up there and beat Ferrandis straight up right before the break, showing like, hey, you may have won a couple on me, but I'm still here and I'm just as fast, if not
yeah,
faster than you are. Uh, so with that being said, I think it's going to be Faulkner, Ferrandis, and Cooper. I
okay,
mean, those are the, as long as Cooper has a good night, uh, the last couple of weeks have not been going his way with crashes and starts and wrong place, wrong time kind of things. Like,
yeah,
he wasn't the same rider the last 2 weeks that we saw, like, season opener, where he came out and just did an amazing job and won. And but yeah, and then 450, I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I think it's going to be Cooper Webb,
okay,
and
yeah,
then Tomac, and then Roxon. I think that Cooper Webb had showed so much speed last weekend that, and it was the same Cooper Webb I saw last year whenever he won the title, where he was like, he was mad that he got second. I
yeah,
saw
yeah,
that sort of fire in him, and I think that now that he had to work for it, he came through the pack and got a last lap pass on Roxon
yeah,
for second, which was, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, it's the same thing he did to him a couple of years ago, or last year
yeah. Last year,
actually,
yep, I remember that.
last lap, and that was like the biggest turning point I felt like for Cooper Webb, where he just thought like this guy should not be in front of me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna beat him, and that's all there is to it. And I saw that sort of spark and fire in him last week, so I think it's time for him to get a win. And if he gets a start, I think he's gonna be dangerous.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. What about you, Dylan? What are your picks?
As far as 250s go, I honestly think that Justin Cooper's going to win it. And then, Alex Martin, he's been up top for most of the races. So I think he might have a good shot of getting top 3. And then Brandon Hartranft also, I think, is going to be up there. I think Faulkner and Ferrandis are just kind of going to get into it and then end up taking themselves both out of it just because, of the history between them, how they're both, somewhat aggressive in a way.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're going to be, battling for second with Cooper just out there pulling away. And then they're going to end up in a situation where they just take each other out.
So you don't even have Faulkner and Ferrandis top 3 in points overall. You don't even have them in the top 3 for this weekend.
No.
You think that they're gonna crash each other out?
Yeah.
Interesting. And you have Hartranft. Hartranft is that dude came in as a privateer, like full blown college student, and he's done some amazing stuff. Like let's just say he's like gotten podiums and like steady top 5s, and that is just crazy to me because I at one point was a full-time college student, and no way would I even think about being a full-time college student and trying to practice and race at a professional level. Like, I was lucky to find a weekend where I could go ride. And, he's doing all that. I mean, I think he graduated and he got that KTM deal, and man, he's looking pretty impressive, I have to say.
Respect.
As far as the 450 side of things go, I think it's going to be AC. I think it's going to be Adam Sansarillo out front for most of the moto. And then I think it's going to go on to, Roxon and Webb battling it out for second and third. And then Webb's just going to come in last turn again and just get him like he has before.
Yeah, What are your guys' thoughts about that pass? Just racing that last lap pass that Cooper Webb had on Ken Roxon. That just
I think for sure. Racing? Yeah, I mean, last corner, last lap in the main event, you're going for, second place. Like, there's a 2-point difference in second and third for points wise, and Cooper Webb needs all the points he can get, and by taking the points leader down 2 more points overall, I mean, that was huge. And I felt like Cooper Webb did what Cooper Webb needed to do, and it benefits him and it benefits Tomac. And I mean, Tomac is, 3 points out, 5 rounds in, 4 rounds in, whatever we're at now. And this is the closest that he's ever been to winning or to having the points lead this early. And Tomac goes on late round tears where, the last 10 rounds he'll win 9 of them or 8 of them. Yeah. And I feel like Tomac is definitely the most dangerous 450 rider as of right now because people know like he does have that late round charge and he's going to be there every race. But I think Cooper Webb did what he needed to do, and I had no problem with the pass. Like, unfortunately, Ken bruised up his foot a little bit, and it got swollen. Thankfully, there's nothing wrong. I mean, they had x-rays, and everything came back totally fine, so that's good for him, because he needs to be out there. And, I think he did what he needed to do.
Yeah, but as far as that goes, I mean, the same exact pass basically happened last year. Roxon knows if Webb's right behind him, especially last turn, if he even has the slightest thought that he might be able to get around him, he's going to go for it.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what happens. So, and like some people were sitting there talking on social media about how it was dirty and all that, but I mean, Roxon knew that Webb was right there at the end of the moto. He knew Webb was going to go in for it, so he tried to shut the door, but their lines just came together. So, I mean, it was just a racing incident, but Cooper Webb, I mean, even last year, later on in the races, he always has that fight in him, like, you know, towards the end, and that's how he got the championship last year. So, I honestly, for the overall win this year, I definitely think Cooper's going to get it over Tomac all day long because, you know, Tomac, he's good at a few races and stuff, but Cooper Webb, kind of like following in Ryan Dungey's footsteps, he's usually pretty consistent. Tomac, you know, he's either in front or he's in the back of the pack, or he's riding over his head to where he ends up messing up somehow, some way.
Yeah, like I remember last year, it was pretty much every weekend you could expect Cooper Webb to be top 3, and it seems like it's getting to that point
100%.
again where, you know, he's always going to be up there.
So, with Cooper Webb, Roxon, who in 250 and 450 has been impressing you the most?
You have one ready, Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you know, Brandon Hartrath, Alex Martin, and Jet Lawrence. All three of them. I mean, Jet Lawrence coming in as the new kid.
16 years old, may I add. This kid is younger than all of us, and he was out there racing for a win at a level that all of us probably wish we could do, but it's not realistic for us. And I just had to give him mad respect. So go ahead.
I mean, he was sitting there going for it, definitely putting up a fight. Wasn't going to let Ferrandis just pull away from him. And then, you know, Hartrath came out swinging a couple rounds after it started. And then Alex Martin, he's always been the type of dude where, you know, he starts off pretty good and then he just slowly falls back. Or he starts off in the back and slowly works his way up. So he's definitely top 3 contender. No doubt about that.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with all that. And just to throw another name out there, Luke Clout, like he kind of came out of nowhere and he's been holding his own for sure in the 250 class. It's been fun to see.
100%, yeah. Definitely the most impressive so far has been Jet Lawrence and his. I mean, unfortunately, he's not racing anymore. He suffered an injury. He broke his collarbone. But he was so impressive in that race that I really, really thought that if he would have maybe backed off and took second, I feel like it would be a different story right now whenever we're talking about who we think could win the 250 title. I mean, he had the speed. He was 11 seconds up on second, and he had a crash which took him back, and Ferrandis was able to catch up to him. But yeah, Jet Lawrence went like full blown beast mode and showed everyone that not only does he deserve to be there, but like he belongs there. Like he's gonna be the guy that whenever he gets his collarbone fixed and he's 100% good to go, I will definitely pick him over just about anyone else to be up there, you know, in the title hunt or for wins.
Another couple of guys who I think have a chance at like top 3, you know, have kind of caught my eye, like, is Jacob Hayes and Mitchell Oldenburg. I mean, Oldenburg went out there and he came out swinging a couple rounds ago, and then Jacob Hayes coming off of, you know, the arena cross circuit, so he's pretty used to it, used to all the fans and just the tight tracks and everything. And you know, he kind of reminds me of a young Tyler Bowers in a way, because you know he's not afraid to get up there and throw some elbows if he needs to, because that's what he's used to. And you know, the starts and everything, he's usually pretty good at those too.
You know, I know we pretty much expected Ken Roxon to do good anyways coming in, but I was impressed with how he came back from his his injuries and how well he recovered.
For real, he had probably the gnarliest injury I've probably ever seen to one specific part of your body, and for him to come back from that and to get a win was just, I mean, that was so impressive,
Oh,
and I was so happy for the guy.
Yeah, it was awesome to see, man. It was cool. Well earned and well deserved for sure.
I think another 250 rider that we all just kind of glanced over and overlooked, Michael Mosiman.
Yes.
Michael Mosiman has been up there. He was battling with Forkner last weekend in the heat race. They were toe to toe duking it out at probably one of the funnest heat races I've seen in a while because neither one of them backed down. And Michael Mosiman, he seems like such a genuinely nice person. Like he seems super nice, and everyone talks about how calm and nice he is. And I mean, he's been up there. I mean, unfortunately, he had a pretty bad crash last weekend where Cameron McIndoe hit him. But yeah, I mean, he's been impressive, and we can't
Yeah.
overlook that.
Another 450 guy who's always catches my eye every year because you never know what he's gonna do is Malcolm Stewart. Because I mean, last year he came out in the mud moto and he was hauling, and even this year, he always starts mid pack, but he always ends up working his way up to the front slower and slower quicker every time. And that dude, I honestly think in the next couple of years, if he gets himself like a nice full blown sponsorship ride and he gets on a bike that he's actually comfortable with, then he'll definitely be one to be up there.
And even when we were in St. Louis, man, that dude can shred some whoops. And nobody was touching him through the whoops.
Well, and also the thing I guess that was most impressive about Malcolm Stewart to me personally is last year he broke his femur. He was going through the whoops and apparently his chain popped off or something, and he wrecked in the whoops, broke his femur, and then came back, didn't race any of the season after that, and then came back and won the Monster Energy Cup.
Oh, he did too.
And that was, to me, I was like, oh my goodness, is this going to be, in my head I was thinking, is this the new James Stewart? Is he going to live up to his brother's shoes where he was always fast in the whoops and he's always fast, but hopefully not the crashing part. James Stewart was notorious for crashing, and I mean that ultimately led him to retire. But I feel like he is definitely capable of winning, and I think that here soon he's going to get it. I think he just needs to get a little more comfortable on the bike, a little more comfortable with being up front and running that pace for longer periods of time, and I think he's going to be good because the Monster Energy Cup, I mean, he impressed me, and that's that was huge for him after coming back from that.
I'm not gonna lie, I have a question for you guys about Justin Brayton.
Okay.
One of the oldest dudes out there next to Chad Reed. Do you think his time is starting to come to an end?
I mean, I don't know, maybe. He looks good, but there's just so many, just so much competition. I don't know. I don't really see him doing anything too crazy, so I don't know that it'll last.
Well, I mean, most of the races so far this year, almost every LCQ, it was always Chad Reed and Justin Brayton, 1 and 2. The two oldest guys on the track having to fight their way to the LCQ almost every single race.
I feel like, because Justin Brayton, last year or the year before, he won Daytona. That was a milestone for him. He was the oldest person, I think, at that point in time to get their first career win or something like that. And so for him, I think he's won, he's had his accomplishments, and if he's okay with getting, say, top 10 every race, I don't see why he should give up, because I mean I think he's a good rider and he's definitely fast and he has the capability of being up front. I mean, he just won Daytona within the last couple of years, so I mean I think his time is further away than what Chad Reed's is, because Chad Reed, I mean, he's a 2-time champ who is barely breaking top 20, where Justin Brayton's still getting top 10s. So I feel like Chad Reed's time is definitely closer than what Justin Brayton's is. we need to talk about Justin Barcia and Martin Davalos.
Okay.
San Diego press day. This happened, I believe, yesterday. San Diego is tonight. What are your thoughts about it? And I'll leave this open ended so you all can talk about it. But yeah, go take us through what happened, Jordan.
Well, from the video, you can clearly see they're both, going for that triple jump, and Martin just completely cross jumps him, and that's dangerous, especially a jump that big. Like, that can cause some serious injuries. Like, you remember when Austin last year kind of cross jumped Osborne, and it kind of messed him up with a bloody nose, and he got a little messed up. So that's dangerous, dude. That's not. I don't think that's a okay move.
Do you think? Obviously not an okay move. First off, I'll just get that out there. Definitely wasn't a fan of the move. If he didn't know that Barcia was there, whatever, you still don't cross jump that bad, even in press day. But do you think Barcia then taking him out in the next turn, like, were you a fan of it? Like, did you like it, or was it like okay, that was a little much? Like, maybe you could have just talked it out.
Dude, I loved it. I don't care.
I loved it too.
I'm with it.
I think that was definitely the way that, especially heat of the moment. I mean, you're out there on dirt bikes, and someone does something like that to you. I mean, you kind of, I don't know. For me, like, whenever something like that would happen to me, or not something that bad, but I always got furious. If I get passed or blocked past by someone, I would get so mad. I'm just like, all right, I got to get him back. And so I think Barcia saw his opportunity. I mean, it was right there, and he. I don't think it was overly aggressive. Like, he didn't like T-bone him or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, all he did was take his front wheel out, and I don't think that was a terrible move, considering that Martin Davalos could have killed him over the triple. I mean, you're talking a 75-foot triple that it shoots you up in the air so high, and if he would have took out his front wheel or something like that, I mean, it could have been really bad and ended his day, not even on practice, but on a press day, which would have been even worse, I feel like, than...
It kind of brings it back to the whole, Justin Barcia and Ken Roxon deal. Whenever, Barcia scrubbed right in front of Roxon, basically the same thing. And then, Roxon was sitting there getting all super butthurt over it because, it is dangerous. And Barcia was like, oh, well, I didn't even know he was there, type of deal. Davalos definitely knew he was there.
Yeah.
I feel like there was something that happened before that video that we're not all seeing. Because, I mean, they were battling it out pretty hard. And then, so, like, for a press day, probably shouldn't go, like, racing speed like that. Because you're just sitting there, trying to fill out the track, fill out all the different lines, taking some pictures and stuff like that. And, for Davalos to do that, you can clearly see, it almost looked like the jump kind of shot him over there. But then again, it also looked like he kind of meant for it to shoot him over that way. And then as far as Barcia going up and completely cleaning him out, he definitely went straight across.
Yeah.
But in a way, if you look at it a couple different ways, yes, he probably was going to clean him out because he's probably mad.
100% he's going to clean him out. There's no question.
But then, if you look at the video a little better, like a little closer, there's also a line right there that he just jumped into. So, in a way, it could have been a mixture of both. He took him out. He was searching for a line, or he could have just completely, cleaned him out. Either way, Bam Bam's a GOAT.
Well,
dude's a great guy.
So afterwards, and only a couple of videos that I watched showed this. So afterwards, after that had happened, Justin Barcia and Martin Davalos actually got into a fight. They were yelling at each other, right next to each other. Barcia threw up his hands at him, and Martin Davalos actually pushed him and his bike over, like attempted to, and Barcia caught himself. And so I don't think that Martin Davalos really has enough. I don't think he has the confidence or the speed or anything like that to be up there. But I feel like, if something were to happen and say Barsha got stuck back in the pack, I'd be nervous if I was Davalos. Like, Barsha's known for riding aggressive, I
Bam
guess you
Bam.
could say. And the dude's nickname is Bam Bam, all right? He's known for riding aggressive. And if I was Martin Davalos, I'd watch out, because if I see a blue 51 behind me, I know that I'm going to get taken out. Like, it doesn't matter. And so, with that being, like, I don't know if it'll happen this week or next week, but I mean, I would just watch out for it, because Barsha's not the person that I personally would want to try and have a takeout contest with.
Well, in the video, whenever Barsha, threw his hands up, I think, because he didn't, like, throw them up like, what the heck, but, like, he just kind of put them straight up. So I think he was trying to, like, if anyone was watching, showing, like, the AMA or someone like that, Davalos is over here pushing him, grabbing his helmet and stuff, and Barsha's over here saying, hey, I'm not doing anything, but watch what he's doing to me, type of deal, to, kind of keep himself out of trouble in that situation.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So San Diego's tonight. Probably said it 4 times on this podcast so far. This is the last round before we switch coasts for 250 riders. We have a whole new crop of talent. We have, fresh points, all this stuff. So, East Coast riders are coming up next weekend. We have guys like Joe Shimoda on the Geico Honda. We have Chase Sexton on the Geico Honda. Hunter Lawrence on the Geico Honda. And Lance Kobush, who I believe is on a privateer KTM team.
Yeah, he's just... I actually talked to Lance not that long ago, and, he had that Husky ride going for him. And the Husky ride was for another year of privateer, of amateurs. And he went out, did one got a championship on the bike and everything. And then he just felt...
In Germany, right?
No. That was he had a Kawasaki ride in Germany.
Okay.
But the Husky ride was for amateurs. And he went out, won a championship, and then realized, he was tired of being at the amateur pace and all that. So he went out, bought his own bikes. He's doing it completely 100% on his own, other than, sponsors helping him out with parts and stuff like that. And so now he's just full-blown privateer, out of his pocket going racing. Sponsors helping him pay for racing completely.
And we watched him a couple weeks ago at Arena Cross that was here local in Kansas City. The dude is fast. Like, he has speed, and I know it's Arena Cross, and it's kind of hard to tell. But I feel like this is a kid who, for like all of his amateur career, was on Monster Energy Kawasaki. He obviously has speed. He's in great physical shape. He's young. I feel like Lance is probably going to go out there. He's going to do great. Considering he is on a privateer bike, completely on his own. But I feel like he is going to get a ride with someone either halfway through or into the season, going into outdoors, if he decides to do it or not. I feel like this is a kid who has a lot of time where he'll be good to go. He'll have a long career ahead of him. He's usually, he's had a couple of injuries that, are really no big deal. Like, I remember he broke his collarbone, but I think he won Monster Energy Cup on the Super Minis. I don't remember if he won it on the 250s.
No, he went out on the 250s, and then coming back down, like coming back into the dome after the big sweeper, he ended up, I think he said he like clicked neutral or something, false neutral, and then endoed and hurt himself pretty bad. So that took him out there. And then he didn't race it last year. Yeah.
So, I feel like he's going to come out and do good. Joe Shimoda, I know he's your dude, Jordan.
Yeah.
Let's talk about him a little bit.
No, I'm excited to see, how he does against everybody. I know he has speed for sure.
Yeah. Dude's fast.
Oh, yeah, there's no question about that. And, there's gonna be some good competition to go against. I'm excited to see, just how well he compares to him.
And Chase Sexton, I mean, he won the title last year. People had all this controversy. He got handed it, all this stuff. Like, I mean, he was still there in a
Yeah.
position where he could win a title. So whether if Austin Faulkner, got hurt or not or whatever, like he still put himself in a position to capitalize on it. I
Yeah.
feel like Chase Sexton was consistent all year. He had speed, he had great finishes, and I expect him to duplicate his title. I feel like he's going to win again, and I think that he's going to do great this year.
What are you guys thinking about how Colt Nichols is going to do?
Ooh,
He was the points leader for most of the season at the beginning, and then kind of started falling back. But I think his time has come. I think he's definitely ready for a championship, and I think he's going to do whatever it takes.
Well, Colt Nichols last year, so Anaheim 1, I believe, was like a semi-mud race. I mean, it wasn't like ridiculously muddy, but there's still a lot of water down on the track. Um, and he excelled. I mean, he went out there and he won. And I feel like if he can get another start like that and carry that confidence and that momentum a little bit more, because I feel like after he won the first couple, like any sort of mishap instantly made him doubt his confidence and his speed. I think that because it showed. I mean, he went from getting top three, top three, top three, where he was getting top five, and then outside the top five, which as a points leader you can't do if you want to win a title in a short, was it like 8 race series, something like that.
Yeah.
So for him, he needs to work on consistency. If he goes out there and wins the first race, he needs to continue to win or stay up there, like what Ferrandis is doing, his teammate.
Yeah.
I feel like he has a great team around him. I mean, the Yamaha team in general has been crushing it in the 250 class the last couple of years. I feel like he has good mentors with Ferrandis, who already won a title. He had Plessinger, who had won a title. So I feel like he has plenty of good people around him. He just needs to focus on himself and the task at hand, and that is to win a title. And I feel like he'll be up there, definitely.
Yeah.
Another guy that you guys are kind of leaving out. What's your guys' opinion on Dustin Winters? I mean, he came out in the first half and did the 450 class, went through a couple LCQs, didn't really show, a lot of people what he could do. And now he has a ride on the TPJ, I believe, team for 250s East Coast. Going out there on a KTM fresh bike, 250. Do you guys think that he might be up there also as well?
I mean, I feel like definitely he'll be in main events, but I mean, last year he was kind of that 20th place rider, and I feel like that's what he's going to be again. I mean, I don't know too much about him really, but I mean, you're talking about people that are on full-blown factory rides who have all these accolades as amateurs and now as pros who have already established themselves. So unless he can go out there like Hartraff did as a privateer or semi-privateer on that Yamaha team he was on, and consistently get good finishes purely based on his speed. Like, I mean, he wasn't on the best bike. He didn't have the best group of people behind him, but he had the speed to go out there and get good finishes. So I feel like if he can do that, then there's no telling, but I don't really know too much about him. So
Yeah, and last year I was up at Bar to Bar, and he was there, and no, he's great. He's wicked fast too in person, and it's just it's just crazy that gap between like like a 15th place rider compared to like a first place rider, because they look so fast in person. But
yeah,
but no, I'm sure he'd be even that much faster with the factory bikes like the Yamalu bikes, and so yeah, it would be cool to see him get something like Hartraff did.
yeah. Anytime anytime I can root for a hometown person or semi hometown person, I mean, I'm all for it. Like Bubba Pauly in the 450 class, he's from St. Louis. I've watched him race in person multiple times. Been out there on the track with him, and I mean, the dude is wicked fast in person. Like, I don't understand how he can be so fast in person, yet go out there and barely crack top 15
Yeah.
in Supercross. And that just shows you how competitive the sport is, and all that. So I mean, Dustin Winters, if he's out there, I'll definitely root for him. I hope the best for him. I just, as of right now, I mean, I don't really know that much about his character or him as a individual or about his speed because I just haven't seen him. But I mean, definitely a semi-hometown person. I mean, if he's at bar to bar, it's only 2.5 hours away. So I mean, I'll be rooting for him for sure. I hope he does good. So we have hometown people. Let's talk about probably the furthest away from hometown, Mexico City, Jason Anderson, El Hombre. All right, this dude is a guy who won the title 2 years ago in the Premier 450 class. He had all sorts of problems last year. He went out there and got hurt. This year, he has really been, like, I don't even know a word for it. Like, he's been good, but good isn't the best word I can use. But he hasn't been fantastic either. Like, he's just been there. He's, I think, first 4 rounds so far. I mean, he's gotten like third, fifth. If he keeps that up, I mean, I think he's in 5th in the points right now. And I think that he's going to be a guy who's going to be there every weekend. I mean, I would put my money on Jason Anderson, getting top 5.
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before he, gets his first win this season. It's just, to me, it's bound to happen. But no, you're right. I think every weekend, because like he started out kind of in between 10th and 5th the first couple weeks in, and then he's been doing the 3 through 5, and yeah, I think he may even probably be top 3 overall at the end of the year is my guess. I don't think he'll win it, but
I enjoy his riding style too. Like, I like the flowiness that he has. I love how he flows. I love the fact that by the end of the race, the dude's so skinny that his jersey usually comes untucked, and he has a little tail flipping around. I love that, and I feel like he's another person like Bam Bam who isn't he isn't as aggressive, but he can be whenever he has that fire. I feel like Jason Anderson is definitely an aggressive rider. And it works to his advantage because he goes out there and he does what he needs to do. And I just feel like he's impressed me a lot this year, especially with his finishes, and I think that he's just going to continue to get better.
As far as Anderson's riding style goes, I mean, it's kind of like an old school Ricky Carmichael. Like he can be smooth and everything, but there's some times where he just lets it all hang out and he gets all out of control, and he's the sketchiest dude on the track, but he's still going as fast as he possibly can, hanging on for dear life. And I definitely think, if he just like calmed down a little bit and found his groove and just worry about, racing the track instead of racing everybody else, then he'd definitely be in a much better place than what he is now. Because, I mean, you see him, he sits there and he goes all out, trying to pass everybody he possibly can the best way possible and try and get up to that top spot. But if he would just, stop worrying about them and just pretend like it was him by himself at the practice track, during the week, just have fun with it, try and be as smooth as possible, but still fast, then I think he'd be in a much better place.
I mean, this is a couple weeks old, but what are your thoughts on the Christian Craig, Dylan Ferrandis incident there?
So let's just start off by saying Dylan Ferrandis, he had a mediocre start. I think he had problems in the first turn or something like that, and he was coming through the pack, and I believe that the 250 mains are like 15 minutes plus 2 laps or something like
Yeah, I
that.
believe so.
12 minutes, something like that. You don't pass someone that aggressive on, for third place on lap.
I think it was like lap 4 or 5.
Yeah, I mean, it was so early. Like, that was, and that goes for anyone. Like, if it was my favorite rider being Ferrandis and a rider who I didn't like being Craig, I would still think like that was an aggressive move and definitely didn't need to happen. I feel like if Ferrandis would have just showed him a wheel right there, maybe make the pass on that split section right after the little step on, step off, or the section right after where he passed or tried to pass Jet Lawrence, I feel like it would be a different story and I would have a lot more respect for him. But I mean, the community, Supercross community as a whole, they hated the pass so much that they booed him. The whole entire arena, whenever he got up there for the podium win, they booed him, and they had to give him a second interview because they couldn't even hear him talking the first time because the boos were drowning out everything else that was going on. So I feel like if your pass caused that much commotion, then obviously there was something wrong about it. Like,
Well,
no way is there going to be 50,000 people that just don't like you as a person. There's no way. So I feel like definitely it was overly aggressive. People say he slid out or whatever. I think it's BS. I think he just went in there and he tried to make a move on him and it ended up being very overly aggressive and dirty. So
yeah, I mean, it definitely looked like he slid a little bit, but I mean, going into that turn as fast as he did, knowing how short that berm was, I mean, he didn't even hit the berm. He hit right after and basically used Craig as a turn. And so, I mean, if you hit someone hard enough to where you take not only the other person out, but take yourself out as well, then, I mean, he most definitely could have just, followed Craig around the outside and then definitely could have passed him, a little cleaner in a different turn. But that was definitely, like, out of control. And it kind of reminds me of, like, how Jason Lawrence used to be. That dude, no matter what, he just go in and plow whoever, whenever.
well, I feel like Ferrandis carried so much speed into that corner that his only intention was to use Craig as his brakes. Like, no way did he have enough time to actually use his brakes to try and slow down to, even give Craig a tap. Like, his whole deal was, I am going to go in here and I'm going to hit my brakes literally as hard as I can at the last second. And hopefully Craig is enough to stop me enough to where I can make this pass.
Yeah.
He went into that corner like it was the Thunder Alley in Las Vegas, just wide open, everything. And I feel like it was definitely not a smart move on Ferrandis' part, and he's on probation because of it. And so, I mean, obviously, if the AMA had enough of an issue with it also, then there's obviously something that needs to be said about it, and something was done. So
Yeah, and you could tell that dude, he didn't care about anything on the track that night other than getting to first. Because, I mean, he went up and did another aggressive move to Lawrence as well, which ended up putting Lawrence on the ground also. So he was definitely gunning for everyone that night. Didn't care who it was or what it was, but he was definitely just trying to make his way up to the top as quickly as possible.
what about you, Jordan?
I mean, there's obviously always going to be, different reactions and, whatnot, but it's not like Craig was slowing him down. He didn't really get the chance to because, I mean, like, he just didn't even, it was just too early. He didn't get follow him for a lap, see where he could make a pass. He just came in for the kill right away. Like, granted, Christian did leave a door open, but who would really expect in the fourth lap to get that kind of pass on you? That's like even the last corner pass, that still might be a little much coming in that hard. And
Well, even Cooper Webb, for example, last year, whenever he made the last lap move on Roxon, like, I mean, that was an aggressive move, but it wasn't dirty.
Yeah,
like, he was really going for a win on the last corner for the 450 main event. And Dylan Ferrandis he was going for third, 4 minutes in.
Yeah, it was definitely much. I'm not defending him by any means. It was too much. At least if you can't give it a whole lap, you can't make a pass in a whole lap at least, and maybe get a little aggressive. That's way too aggressive.
Well, I mean, so I like how you said he didn't even give himself time to follow Craig and kind of like he was in third place. So I think the pass was 4 second because Jet Lawrence is in the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it was 4:30 because I think it went Jet Lawrence, Faulkner, and then him at that point, and then Faulkner ended up going down. So with that being said, for third place, second place, whatever it was, 4 minutes in, he had plenty of time to just pick his passing point. He went for the first opportunity that shouldn't have even been an opportunity. Like Craig definitely did leave the door open, but like you said, who would expect that aggressive of a move that early into a 250 race? I mean, it was poor judgment on Ferrandis, and sucks to be Craig because all the internet kind of turned it back on him, where he had his takeout with I think it was Jeremy Martin or Alex Martin, I can't remember, but people were like, "Oh, what goes around comes around," and I mean, Christian Craig definitely put a dirty move on Jeremy Martin or Alex Martin, whichever one it was, and I definitely didn't like that move either, but definitely don't say, oh, it's just karma getting them back, because I mean Ferrandis did put a dirty move on it. Like, call it what it is if you're gonna say something like that.
Yeah, and that's definitely like one of the turns you don't want to make a pass on. I mean, the turn's half the size of all the other ones. If he would have just went in, the next turn where it was the bowl turn, where there's multiple lines, he could have easily just, squared it up like arena cross style and probably would have got him. And it would have been safe and clean. Like, that was really dangerous because it could have hurt Craig way worse than what it did.
Yeah, and I mean, that move, it took Craig out for the race, no points for him then, and, it just could have been easily avoided. And
So with that being said, I think that's going to wrap up our podcast for today. Dylan, thanks for being here. Jordan, thanks for being here as always. If you don't mind, leave us a comment of what you want us to talk about, because I want this to be a podcast where we talk about what we want to talk about, but we also talk about what you all are interested in, because definitely motocross and supercross doesn't hit every single group of people out there the same way it does for us. So, and if you want us to have a certain guest on, we'll be more than happy to hear your comments and stuff. And if you want to be on, just let us know. So if you could leave a like on this video, a subscribe, a comment, and turn on those bell notifications, that way you can get reminded every single time we upload. We're going to have loads of content for you all. And definitely this is a podcast that we want you to be able to just pop an earbud in an ear and put your phone down and clean the house, or try and get you through your day at work if you like what you hear. So by all means, thanks, and catch you next time.